Imagine reaching the age of 70. You've lived through decades of memories, seen the world change, watched your children grow, and perhaps even buried a partner who once shared your journey. The house that used to echo with laughter now feels quiet, the calendar that used to be filled with family gatherings now has too many blank spaces. Loneliness becomes an unexpected companion, one that sneaks into your evenings and makes the nights feel longer than the days. And then, just when you least expect it, someone new appears. Maybe it's an old friend you reconnected with, maybe it's a kind face from your church or community center, or even someone you met online. They bring warmth, joy, and the promise of companionship again. The thought of remarriage begins to form, and at first, it feels like a second chance at life. After all, isn't love supposed to have no age limit? But here's the reality that most people never talk about. Doctors and psychologists are warning seniors, older adults, that remarriage after 70 is not just about finding someone to share a cup of tea with. It's not just about having another person sitting next to you at dinner or walking beside you on Sunday mornings. It comes with psychological effects, serious ones, that can shake your sense of balance in ways you might never expect. These are the things that happen behind closed doors, things that don't show up in wedding photos or happy announcements. They are subtle at first, a small sense of guilt when you realize your children look uncomfortable, a quiet anxiety when you wonder whether you're making the right decision, or a wave of confusion when old habits clash with new ones. Most people think remarriage is simply a personal choice. If it makes you happy, then do it. But research shows the story is far more complicated. After decades of building habits, beliefs, and coping mechanisms, the brain of a 70-year-old doesn't adapt as easily as it once did. Scientists at Stanford University have found that seniors, older adults who go through major lifestyle changes, such as remarriage, experience a significant increase in stress hormones like cortisol. And stress at this age is not just an emotional issue, it's a health risk. It can affect the immune system, worsen blood pressure, and even increase the likelihood of cognitive decline. In other words, what seems like a purely emotional decision can ripple into physical health. That's why doctors often remind seniors, before walking down the aisle again, you must think beyond romance. You must look at the whole picture, your mental health, your relationships with children, and your ability to adjust to new routines. Because love at 70 is real, but so are the challenges. And ignoring these challenges can lead to regret, conflict, and even health problems that no one warned you about. This video is about uncovering those hidden truths. We're not here to tell you not to remarry, but to open your eyes to what happens after the honeymoon ends. So stay with us, because the stories and scientific facts we'll share might just change the way you see love, aging, and life itself. Impact 1: The emotional shock of remarrying after 70. When seniors, older adults remarry after the age of 70, the very first impact that often surfaces is not visible on the outside, it's emotional shock. At first, the excitement of having a new companion feels uplifting. But after the honeymoon period fades, many seniors report feeling a strange mixture of joy, guilt, and anxiety all at once. These emotions are not always easy to explain. For some, there is guilt toward a late spouse, as if choosing to remarry means betraying decades of memories. For others, there's anxiety about how children or grandchildren will respond. These conflicting feelings create an emotional storm that can feel overwhelming. Take the story of Eleanor Harris, a 71-year-old retired teacher from Tampa, Florida. After living alone for nearly 8 years following her husband's passing, she remarried a longtime family friend. In the first months, Eleanor described it as a dream. She felt alive again, laughing during dinner, enjoying morning walks, and even planning trips. But soon, she began waking up at night with racing thoughts. "Sometimes I felt like I was doing something wrong," she admitted. "I loved my first husband deeply, and I started asking myself, am I allowed to be this happy again?" Her daughter's cold reaction only made it worse, and Eleanor confessed she often cried in silence despite having a new partner at her side. Psychologists call this phenomenon complicated grief combined with role transition. After decades of identifying as someone's spouse and later as a widow, stepping into a new role brings stress. A study published in the American Journal of Geriatric Psychiatry found that nearly 42% of seniors who remarry after 70 report feelings of guilt or identity conflict in the first year. These things show us that remarriage in late life is not just about gaining happiness, it can also stir unresolved emotions that linger below the surface. From a health perspective, emotional shock is not harmless. Stress triggers the release of cortisol, a hormone that, when consistently elevated, can damage the immune system and worsen heart conditions. For seniors' older adults, whose health is already more fragile, this impact must not be ignored. Doctors emphasize that after a major life change like remarriage, monitoring emotional well-being is just as important as physical checkups. Ignoring these early signs of stress can lead to depression, social withdrawal, and even a decline in overall health. Experts advise that seniors must approach remarriage with open conversations, counseling, and self-reflection. These steps can help avoid the hidden trap of emotional conflict. Healthy habits such as journaling, regular physical activity, and speaking openly with children or close friends are also essential. While love in old age can bring joy, the first impact, emotional shock, reminds us that the heart carries long memories, and blending old and new emotions is never easy. Impact 2: Family conflicts and emotional distance. If emotional shock is the first storm, family conflict is often the second, and sometimes, it's even harder to endure. For many seniors' older adults, remarriage after 70 feels like a chance to start fresh. But for children and grandchildren, the story is different. They may see the new spouse as a stranger intruding into family traditions, or worse, as a threat to inheritance. These things create invisible walls between parents and their children, turning joyful occasions into tense confrontations. The most heartbreaking part? Seniors often feel torn between their desire for companionship and their love for family harmony. Consider the story of Robert Jenkins, a 74-year-old retired engineer from Dallas, Texas. After losing his wife of 45 years, Robert felt the crushing weight of loneliness. 2 years later, he married Patricia, a widow he met at a community center. At first, Robert was full of hope. He imagined family dinners, grandchildren visiting, and everyone accepting Patricia warmly. But reality was different. His eldest son accused him of replacing mom, his daughter refused to bring her kids over, and phone calls became less frequent. Robert confessed to a counselor, "I thought I was gaining love, but instead, I feel like I've lost my children." His health began to suffer: insomnia, loss of appetite, and constant worry. Research confirms Robert's struggle is not unique. A 2021 survey by the National Council on Aging found that over 55% of seniors who remarried after 70 experienced tension with at least one child within the first year. The most common reasons were concerns about finances, inheritance, and loyalty to the deceased parent. These conflicts don't just affect family gatherings, they affect the senior's psychological stability. Doctors warn that prolonged family rejection can increase the risk of depression by up to 60% in older adults. From a psychological standpoint, family conflict is one of the most painful things to navigate. Unlike physical illness, there is no simple medication to restore closeness. Seniors must walk a tightrope, trying to balance new love with old ties. After remarriage, they often find themselves constantly negotiating what holidays to spend together, how to handle property decisions, even what to call the new spouse around grandchildren. These small, daily frictions become heavy burdens when left unresolved. So what can be done? Experts suggest open communication before marriage is essential. Seniors must involve their children early in the conversation, explaining motivations and reassuring them that their love for the late spouse and their children remains intact. Professional family counseling can also help rebuild trust and ease transitions. Most importantly, seniors must avoid making impulsive decisions without considering long-term family dynamics. Now let me ask you, are you still with me here in this journey? If you've made it this far, type number 2 in the comments so we know you're still following closely. And while you're at it, don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who might need it, and subscribe to our channel Golden Age Wisdom. Together, we can spread wisdom that might just save someone from making painful mistakes in their golden years. Impact 3: Mental health and physical burden. When seniors' older adults remarry after the age of 70, the emotional changes do not stop at the heart or the family table, they ripple directly into the body. Psychologists often remind us that the mind and body are inseparable. Stress, anxiety, and unresolved conflict are not just feelings. Over time, they become physical burdens. These things are especially dangerous for older adults, whose bodies no longer recover as quickly as they once did. After a new marriage, seniors often face the pressure of adjusting to new expectations, balancing family tensions, and living with constant worry. The result? Sleep disturbances, rising blood pressure, weakened immunity, and even faster cognitive decline. Take the case of Helen Martinez, a 71-year-old retired nurse from Miami, Florida. After her husband passed away, she remarried at 71 to a fellow church member. At first, she felt strong and supported. But 6 months later, Helen began experiencing chronic headaches, fatigue, and weight loss. Her doctor discovered her blood pressure was consistently elevated, and her cholesterol had spiked. What changed? Helen admitted that she constantly worried about being a good enough wife to her new husband while also facing cold silence from her children. "I feel like I'm being stretched in two directions," she said. "I love him, but the stress is eating me alive." Science backs up Helen's story. A 2019 study from Harvard Medical School found that older adults undergoing high emotional stress had a 22% higher risk of cardiovascular events, including heart attack and stroke, within the first 2 years of remarriage. Another study in the Journal of Aging and Health revealed that older individuals under chronic family stress slept an average of 90 minutes less per night compared to their peers, a reduction that significantly worsened memory and immune response. These numbers remind us that health is not just about eating the right food or exercising, it's also about the psychological weight we carry. Doctors emphasize that seniors must approach remarriage with their health in mind. New love is uplifting, but it must not come at the cost of stability. Seniors should avoid ignoring signs of stress, changes in appetite, sleep disruption, or sudden mood swings. These are early warnings that the body is struggling to cope. Healthy habits, such as regular exercise, mindfulness, and medical checkups, become more important than ever after remarriage. A strong support system, whether from friends, children, or community groups, is also a must to buffer the mental and physical toll. The truth is clear: after 70, every decision carries more weight on health. A happy marriage can bring comfort, but if stress is left unchecked, it can slowly erode both mental health and physical strength. Older adults must recognize this impact early, because protecting health is not just about living longer, it's about living well. Impact 4. The clash of habits. One of the most underestimated impacts of remarrying after 70 is the clash of daily habits. At this stage of life, routines are not just preferences, they are survival tools. Older adults have spent decades developing rhythms that give them comfort and stability: what time they wake up, how they drink their morning coffee, which foods they eat, when they take medication, even the way they like to spend their evenings. These things may seem small, but for someone over 70, they are the foundation of peace. After remarriage, two people with 2 lifetimes of habits suddenly try to merge their worlds. And sometimes, the friction can create more stress than joy. Consider the story of George and Linda Thompson from Denver, Colorado. George, age 73, had lived alone for 10 years and loved waking up at 5 a.m. to read the newspaper in silence. Linda, age 70, preferred staying up late watching movies and sleeping until mid-morning. At first, they laughed about their differences. But soon, George became frustrated by the noise late at night, and Linda felt judged for her sleeping patterns. Even meals became points of tension. George liked simple home-cooked food, while Linda enjoyed dining out. "We thought love was enough," Linda admitted, "but we didn't realize how much these little habits could wear us down." Within months, George developed insomnia, and Linda felt constant anxiety in her own home. Science explains why habits are so hard to change in older age. According to a study in the journals of gerontology, older adults over 70 show a 40% decrease in adaptability to new routines compared to those in their 50s and 60s. The brain becomes less flexible, and disruptions in familiar habits can cause psychological stress. These things are not just annoyances, they affect mental health, digestion, sleep quality, and even memory. Doctors warn that ignoring these clashes may lead to chronic stress, which, as we've seen, directly impacts health. Experts advise that couples must approach remarriage with patience and compromise. Instead of forcing each other to abandon lifelong routines, they should create blended habits. For example, George could keep his early morning reading, while Linda enjoys her late-night movies with headphones. Shared rituals, like an afternoon walk or cooking dinner together once a week, can build unity without erasing individuality. Counselors say that seniors must avoid the trap of expecting their partner to change completely. Mutual respect is the key. Are you still with me here in paragraph 5? If yes, type number 4 in the comments so we know you're following this journey closely. And don't forget, please like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel Golden Age Wisdom for more wisdom that helps seniors, older adults navigate life's toughest choices. Your support helps us bring these life-changing lessons to more people who need them. Impact 5: Long-term psychological and social consequences. Beyond the first months and years, remarriage after 70 brings a wave of long-term consequences that many seniors, older adults never anticipate. While the initial joy may feel strong, time often reveals deeper psychological and social challenges. These things don't happen overnight, they unfold slowly, shaping how seniors view themselves, their families, and their place in society. One of the most significant long-term issues is identity conflict. After decades of living as a widow or widower, many seniors identify with that role. When they remarry, they must rebuild their sense of self in a world that sometimes questions their choices. Neighbors, friends, and even extended family may gossip or quietly disapprove, leaving the senior feeling isolated. Over time, this can erode self-esteem and cause emotional fatigue. Take the case of Samuel Reed, a 75-year-old from Portland, Oregon. After marrying his second wife at 74, he noticed subtle shifts in his social life. Old friends stopped inviting him to gatherings, claiming they didn't know how to act around his new partner. His children visited less often, and he felt as though every conversation was a negotiation: how to split holidays, how to handle birthdays, even who sat at the head of the table. Samuel admitted, "It feels like I traded one kind of loneliness for another." The constant strain affected his confidence and left him questioning whether remarriage had been the right decision. Research supports Samuel's experience. A 2020 report from the American Psychological Association highlighted that nearly 47% of seniors who remarried after 70 reported long-term feelings of social isolation, despite having a partner at home. This paradox, being married but still feeling alone, is one of the hardest burdens to carry. Psychologists warn that unresolved social and family tensions accumulate over time, leading to chronic stress, depression, and in some cases, cognitive decline. These are not small things, they are risks that every senior must understand before saying, "I do." Another long-term consequence is financial and legal strain. Inheritance disputes, disagreements over property, and questions about medical decision-making can cause lasting rifts. Seniors must avoid ignoring these issues, because what begins as small misunderstandings can turn into lawsuits or permanent family estrangement. Doctors and counselors emphasize that these practical matters weigh heavily on mental health, especially when combined with the normal stresses of aging. Yet, not all outcomes are negative. Seniors who approach remarriage with open communication, counseling, and careful planning often report long-term stability and comfort. They build new habits slowly, honor old memories while embracing new love, and set clear boundaries with family. These seniors, older adults show that while remarriage in later years carries risks, it can also provide meaningful companionship, if handled wisely. The lesson is clear: after 70, the psychological and social consequences of remarriage stretch far beyond the wedding day. Seniors must prepare not only their hearts but also their families, finances, and health. Because the decisions made now will shape the final decades of life, and those years deserve to be lived with dignity, peace, and wisdom. Closing. We've now walked through the journey of remarriage after 70, and the road is clearly more complex than it first appears. From the emotional roller coaster of adjusting to a new partner, to family conflicts, to the mental and physical burdens, to the clash of daily habits, and finally the long-term psychological and social consequences, each impact tells us that love in later life is never just about two people. It's about the family, the community, and the legacy that seniors, older adults leave behind. Doctors and experts are united in their warning: these are not small things to overlook. Remarrying after the age of 70 can bring joy and comfort, yes, but it also carries hidden challenges that most seniors never expect. Research repeatedly shows that psychological well-being, physical health, and family stability are tightly linked. Ignoring these realities can create years of tension, while careful planning and honest communication can turn potential conflict into peace. The choice is never simply about whether you love someone, it's about whether you are prepared for the layers of change that follow. Stories like those of Linda from Ohio, Robert from Texas, Martha from Florida, and Samuel from Oregon remind us that behind every statistic lies a human heart. These seniors faced moments of deep reflection, torn between desire for companionship and the cost of disrupting the balance of family life. Their testimonies prove one thing: after 70, decisions must be guided not just by emotions, but by wisdom, health considerations, and the willingness to adapt. So what can you do if you or someone you love is considering remarriage in old age? First, seek guidance, not only from doctors and counselors, but also from family members whose lives will inevitably be affected. Second, avoid rushing. Take time to build new habits gradually, respecting the life you've lived while opening space for the new. Third, prepare legally and financially, because unresolved questions about inheritance, medical decisions, and property can cause irreversible rifts. And finally, remember that your health must come first. Without stability of mind and body, even the most loving relationship can become a source of stress rather than comfort. And now, I'd like to ask you, have you been following along closely until this very last part? If you're still here with me, I want you to go down to the comments right now and type number 6. That way, I'll know you've taken this journey from beginning to end and are truly committed to thinking about these issues with depth and care. Before we wrap up, let me leave you with one final thought: life after 70 is precious. These years are a gift, filled with opportunities to reflect, to love, to grow, and to share wisdom with younger generations. Whether or not you choose to remarry, make sure that your days are guided by peace, health, and dignity. Don't let loneliness push you into decisions without reflection, but don't let fear of judgment keep you from happiness either. Balance is the key. If you found this video meaningful, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video to help others who may be facing the same questions. Let's spread awareness and build a community of thoughtful seniors and families who understand the true meaning of love and wisdom in the golden years. This is your channel, Golden Age Wisdom, and together we will keep exploring the truths that matter most.